Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Real Estate Hack Factory. Today, I've got a real special guest joining us, Beverly Ruffner. She is the CEO and founder of Inside Out Coaching Academy, the Coaching Academy. Good morning, Beverly. How are you today?
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are things over there in Georgia?
They are great in Georgia. A little rainy today, but hot.
Yeah, are you getting the rain from that storm coming up the coast?
Maybe. I don't know. Because we had a beautiful day yesterday, but I don't know. I think the whole East Coast is affected right now with the.
Yeah, we just had a band of rain come through here probably about 30 minutes ago. We're probably expecting more tonight, I think, is when they say it's coming, but hopefully it's going to be a non-starter, a non-weather event here. We don't need any more disruptions. We've had enough in 2020 already. I'm ready to turn the page to 21.
I think we all came out of 2019 going, yes, 2020. And then we're like, oh, 2020.
Yeah, it's like, I want a do-over, please. Can we do this again? Anyway, thanks so much for joining me today. Thanks for joining us. For those of you who are new to the broadcast, welcome. We hope that you enjoy it and maybe learn something from it, or maybe even a little bit entertained by it. If nothing else, for those of you who are returning, welcome back. It's great to see you again. Well, actually, we can't see you, but you can see us. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. And, we're going to talk about some stuff that is real kind of top of mind these days. And a lot of that, is mindset, right? Yeah. So we're going to talk about what Beverly's been up to, what she's doing. She's launching her new coaching academy. She's been in the business a real long time now. How long have you been doing this?
2005.
2005. So yeah, that's a bit. And you were previously with Sync, if I remember correctly.
I was. Yeah. I trained with them. I was actually one of the first people to use it. So when they first launched it, I was one of the first 50 people that bought it. And I was running Tiger leads, with it. Cause I just wanted to, I was a lead whore. I just had to have all the leads in my market. So yeah.
Yeah, I remember Tiger leads too. I used to use them a long time ago. Mm-hmm. They were pretty good. They were definitely different. They were definitely out there in front for a while. So they were pretty cool. You've got an ebook as well that you put together. We're going to kind of touch on different parts of that, really the 5 different truths, right, that we kind of go there. And before we started the broadcast, we were chatting a little bit about really working from the outside in versus inside out. And I think that's really kind of fascinating. We kind of talked about that for a bit. You want to kind of share a little bit about, your thoughts on which way you are now doing it, you're approaching it?
Certainly. And, just rewinding from the perspective of being in the real estate industry and trying to figure it out. 2005 obviously was the boom, right? That was when it was great. We didn't have to do anything. You put a sign in the yard at home sales. Moving in though to 2008, 2009, we had some challenging experiences and I had to figure stuff out. So I adopted the internet lead generation era at that time and really built my business off of that. And needing a coach in those times of figuring out systems and strategies and expireds, FSBOs, what do I do? How do I do it? But never really nailing it. Mm-hmm. And through the years, yes, I had a thriving business. I loved it. I have been training. So I've been in coaching and I've been doing the coaching. And really looking at my life today versus then. And I'm like, God, if I didn't know then what I know now, I would be so much further ahead. But what is that really, truly that I didn't know then? Because I had all the right tools, I had all the right systems, but what lacked was the action. And when I sit back and I look at how much time I exhausted thinking about these great ideas, maybe putting them on paper, maybe playing with them, but not following them through to end, or not being consistent enough to see the results. Mm-hmm. Looking back, I can count on numerous fingers, more than 10 probably, of all these great ideas that I had that I never fully moved forward with. So when I start coaching and I hear people on the other side, it's always easier, Keith, right? When you're on the outside looking in. I can tell you what to do, but I don't want to do it myself, right? And that's always been the misnomer with coaches in the industry. Oh, you can tell me what to do, but are you really doing it yourself? Well, there's so many aspects in our life. It's not just what we're doing in our business. It's what are we doing with our relationships? What are we doing with our children? What are we doing with our own relationship with ourselves? And how much do we respect all those facets of our life? Because that all rolls over into business. And if we're not respecting who we are as a person and doing the things that we promise to ourselves, if we say, oh my gosh, I have to call so-and-so because they were such a great client, I'm really thinking about them. And you almost make yourself that promise, you want to call them today, but then tomorrow gets here and you didn't call them, you start to disrespect yourself a little bit, and that starts bleeding over into a lot of the actions that we don't take. Because what story are we telling ourselves about the success of where we want to go? It's easy to sit and say, I want to have this many transactions this year, and I want to do this, and I want to be this person. But it's another thing to go through the process and do the work.
Yeah, no, it truly is. And I definitely can relate to that guilty feeling if you put something in your mind or even on paper, or, we used to use the schedule, the daily schedule, the perfect day kind of a thing, and you miss it. You miss something, and it starts to, you think about it, you're laying in bed at 3:00 in the morning, like all real estate agents do, staring up at the ceiling. You're like, oh man, I forgot to do it tomorrow. I'm definitely going to do it. And you're thinking about it. And then the next day you get sidetracked again. You get busy, you get knocked off your schedule. And that's where I find the bigger problem is that now I forgot to do something else because I didn't have time to do it. I got derailed. So now I have two different things that are now wearing on my mind.
Yes. And as we accumulate those things into our subconscious, those are the things that, when we talked about the 5 truths of why are you blocking what you need, what you know you can do, and why do you feel stuck? Subconsciously, we're holding on to that feeling that we can't do it because we didn't do it, because we made a promise to ourselves and we didn't keep that promise, but we didn't do it on purpose. And we are our own worst critics. We tell ourselves things that we would never tell another human being. Why? Why is it okay for us to sit here and tell ourselves that we suck, that we can't do it, that, I'll never get that done, or we have all these negative thoughts in our head, but we would never tell another human being that? No wonder we're stuck, right?
Yeah.
No wonder we don't take action because of what's in our head.
Right. And that comes down to the very basics, and really what we're going to be talking about a lot today is about mindset and readjusting that mindset and your 5 steps. And, I looked through your book, and, I didn't have enough time to read the whole thing in its entirety, but, I did definitely dive into the 5 truths, and I think they were pretty much on target. Because I've been through coaching as well. I've been through the challenges. I've been through, trying to find out what defines me, and so why don't we jump into a few of those? Because I think that, the folks that are enjoying this broadcast and maybe watching it at a later time, really would kind of enjoy those 5 truths as well.
Sure.
Should we share those?
Absolutely.
Cool. All right. So your 5 truths, I guess we start at the top, understanding why other coaching programs haven't worked in the past. That's probably, one of the biggest ones. And I shared with you before that, I've been in coaching programs, a few of them, I was actually a trainer for a while, national sales trainer, not quite a coach, but that number one question, why they haven't worked in the past. And is it the mindset? Is it the coach? We talked about that a little bit too, because a lot of the coaches that are out there haven't sold anything in a long time. Some of them almost never. They're probably one of the more prolific or famous or infamous coaches. He hasn't sold anything in forever, but he's one of the biggest coaches out there.
Well, and I think a lot of it comes down to our own personal limiting beliefs on what is the title of a coach and what are we looking for in regards to expectations from that coach. And the reality is, when you point the finger, you always have three coming back at you. And everything that we do in life always comes back to self. Because we can sit here and we can blame the coach, we can blame the program, we can blame the systems. But in the hardcore truth of the reality, did we do everything that we were supposed to do? Or did we create distractions to take us away from the action because it got uncomfortable? Nobody likes to be uncomfortable. It sucks. It's not fun. But if we don't get uncomfortable, we're not going to move forward. And a lot of times, coaches are afraid to make you feel uncomfortable because I don't want to lose you as a client because I need your money next month. So I'm not going to tell you what you really need to hear. I'm just going to let you vent and let you give me all the excuses and let me tell you and then listen to all your distractions and go, okay, well, do better next week. We'll talk next week. And the cycle repeats. So really, what are you looking for in a coach? Are you looking for someone to handhold you? And are you looking for a friend that's going to listen to you complaining about how horrible the market is, how horrible, your life is at home, that you can't do the homework because you got this going on? Well, the reality is, if we have something that is of major importance in our life, we make time for it. Everything else we make excuses for. So the answer to why other coaching programs hasn't worked, it sums it up in one sentence: the student wasn't ready. It is really what it comes down to, because there was a disconnect between what was being taught and how it was being received. So everyone sees life through different lenses, and those lenses, like when you're the optometrist, they're going, okay, clearer, worse. Okay, clearer, worse. And that's what coaches really need to be doing in our lives is, am I making you uncomfortable? Good, let's go further with that. Let's make you really uncomfortable. Let's actually make you do something. But if the student isn't ready, they're like, that coach sucks. I don't like him, or I don't like her.
Yeah, I think I might have done that a couple of times.
We all have. We're all guilty of it.
What's that old, I don't know where it came from. I think maybe some old Asian kind of guru person, whatever, when the student is ready to learn, the coach will appear, or the teacher will appear.
Yeah. And we're all at different stages of our life. And it's just like on all these Facebook groups, everybody says, what's the best CRM? Who's the best coach? Well, there is no one that's greater than the other. We are all the same. It's who's going to work for you. What system is going to work for you? What challenges are you looking to overcome? Because every single one of us that are in the coaching industry and real estate all have different talents, whether we've done it or not. And I was just telling my life coach today, I said, I would gladly take on someone that has paved the path and has done the work and has gotten to the other side than someone that has a degree. It's if you've done the work and you've gotten through it and you've gotten your nails dirty and you've gotten your knees scraped up and you're okay with being vulnerable and saying, oh my God, I was at the bottom. I hit bottom, life sucked, but this is what I did to get out of it. That's the coach I want.
Yep. Yeah. And, you know, a lot of people that I know that are coaches that have succeeded have done exactly that, where they made a lot of money, they made millions, then they lost it for whatever reason, whether it was '08 that did it to them or there was something personal that happened in their lives. And then they had to kick and scratch and claw their way back to where they are. And in my opinion, that's the best kind of coach. And also ones that stay active in the marketplace as well. Again, not speaking from theory, but actual practicality. They're out there, you know, boots on the ground. They know what's going on. So yeah, I totally get that. It's those are really my favorite people, and there's a few of them that participate here in the Hack Factory that have done that, and you can really tell their intent, their intensity, and you know that they want you to succeed because they know that feeling of going from zero to hero. Okay, and they're back. They've made it. So.
Well, in accomplishing what we feel in the moment as impossible. Mm-hmm. Because we've all been in those moments of our life where we don't feel that we can ever get over where we are. And life just feels so impossible because it's so dark. Yeah. That coach appears and pulls you up out of it and helps you to realize there is a lesson in this. It's our choice how we take action on it. Are we going to learn from the hard truths and take action on it and say, I ain't going back there again? And because everything that happens right now is based on what we created in the past. You know, we make bad decisions and then we have to deal with the results, right? Yeah. So once we come through what we feel is the impossible, you find that voice inside that's just, you can't keep your mouth shut. You just want to help everybody else overcome their own challenges. And a big part of my life, man, I have fallen down. I always joke, I said, when I go big, I go big. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen the biggest, broadest ways. I remember my first year in real estate, my broker said to me, he goes, Bob, because I swear to God, every one of your deals is like, I've been in the industry forever and I've never heard of this, but every single one of your deals is like the biggest challenge. I'm like, yes, I'm learning. Yes, I'm learning. But I could have said, oh my God, I suck at this because I'm always challenged with it, right? Yeah. There's two ways to look at it. How do you choose?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. You know, you make an excellent point. You know, that's where agents learn is through challenges. And, you know, you hope that they remember the lesson when they come back to that challenge again, because it will come back. And, you know, I feel like the guy, well, I think it's State Farm Insurance or whatever. I know a thing or two because I've seen a thing or two. Yeah. Okay. And I have every day. It amazes me what I see happening in real estate. But it's learning. And really, you know, if you're not into that, if you're not into the learning, you might as well just give up altogether. Just stay in bed because once you stop learning, you're done. Yes. But, you know, I had the same thing. I remember my very first deal. You know, everyone remembers the very first deal, their very first kiss, the very first love of their life. Okay. Everyone in real estate remembers their first deal. My first deal, I remember I got it done. And I was with some folks that were very, very accomplished. They had been in the business for a long time, and they knew the struggle I went through on that particular deal. And they're like, "Well, that was a great icebreaker." I'm like, "That wasn't an icebreaker. That was a jawbreaker." You know, I mean, it really sucked, but I learned so much from it. I still remember the guy's name. I still remember all the challenges that we went through, and that's where you learn. That's right. You know. It does, and you have to keep that that learning going constantly, because it becomes like, it's like muscle memory. If you don't use it, if you don't learn, you're not going to remember. You have to do it.
Well, and that brings us really up to the next truth, is empowering yourself to overcome those challenges, because we have to remember why. Why did we get into the industry in the first place? What made us want to do this job other than being batshit crazy? Because to stay in the sales industry, especially real estate, you've got to have a couple screws loose, right? You got to be willing to take shots, because it is the most self-investing job you can really have, because you're truly dealing with people at the most stressful times of their lives. And we really have to take care of ourselves. So when we go into a challenging situation, it's remembering the why we started, and looking back now saying, okay, I'm really pissed off right now. Like I quit real estate every October was like my time that I was stopped. I'm like, I quit, it sucks. And I don't know why it was October. I don't know what was definitive about it, but it's like every single one of us in the industry have quit. But we start the next day, right? And it's kind of like when you drink too much, you're like, I'll never drink it again. Just like, I'll never do it again. But we have to remember the why we started, because what changed from the day that you started, when you got that, you passed the test, you're like, yes, I'm a real estate agent. So now it's like, oh my God, this really sucks. It's looking inside yourself and saying, okay, what do I have to offer the world? And I know for me, it just became so much about wanting to save my audience. And I call it my audience because of the place I'm in right now. But when I looked at all of the leads in my database, and I knew agents out there were not giving them a great experience, I wanted to debunk the used car salesman theory of real estate, because I knew I could bring a level of service to them that was beyond what they knew really existed. And it was my job and my duty to have a conversation with every single person that was even thinking or ever thinking about buying a home, because it was my job to make sure they knew that they had a choice to choose. Because if I would go on the line in the morning and go, oh my God, that house listed, how did that agent get that listing? Oh wait, it's my fault, because they didn't know they had a choice. They didn't know about me. But we forget about that because we get, woe is me, this client did this, or this agent did this, and I'm the victim, and this job sucks. Instead of going, I have a responsibility. How do we look at it?
And, you know, getting back to the why, you know, in the beginning, you know, it was funny. And I think it was you that actually posted this the other day, you know, why did you get in the business? You know, and, you know, in the beginning, your why can be virtually anything. And I think some responses were, you know, I didn't have a choice. You know, it was the only thing I could do. You know, I was thrown into it, or I was born into it, whatever it happened to be. But over time, and I think this is where you become a survivor in the business, is that you have to alter your why as you learn and go through. And yeah, you have to. You know, my why, you know, changed recently as well, just about 2 years ago, where my why became a very simple statement, and I'll share that with you. And that is, my why was 60. Okay, 60. And people are like, what the hell is that? What the hell? Have you got nuts? What is 60? Is that 60 transactions, $60? What are you doing? No, I set my goal to reach it by the time I turned 60, which was 2 years ago. So that became my new why, to embark on all of this and to get it done and have it accomplished. So, you know, that keeps you growing. If you remember the original why, I believe, as to why you got in the business, but then you keep adding new whys and new reasons basically to keep going, then you're going to survive. You're going to do well. You're going to keep growing. And the people around you will be affected as well.
Well, and that brings up a really great point that isn't part of the truths, but it's definitely a good place to interject this. When you look at Olympians and they're studying to be the best in the world,
Yeah.
and they set goals, they're very goal-minded, they're very goal-oriented. And I had so much confusion over goals and purpose. And when you start looking at an Olympian that achieves that gold medal, he's reached his goal. He's attained his goal. He's exceeded his goal. But if the goal was the end result without the why, what does he have left? You're the best in the world. How defeating it would be if you didn't have a bigger purpose, a bigger why. And that purpose is something that we work on every single day. And we get a little bit better and we get a little bit better. Because if we attain our purpose right now, we're done in this lifetime. If we attain our goal, we can set new goals, but that purpose is something that gets us out of bed every morning, that makes us move, that makes us tick. And I find so many real estate agents in this industry unhappy, stressed, extreme anxiety, and all for the reason of, what is your purpose to make a difference in this world? And does real estate fulfill that? And what I love about the real estate industry is it exposes us to people, so many different people, because everybody in the world is going to move. Everybody, I mean, just face it. Everybody in the world is going to be born, going to move, and going to die. Those are the three knowns, right? Yeah. And to be a real estate agent and be part of one of those moments, it's a gift. And we forget what we truly hold within ourselves. And, my purpose is to help people get out of their comfort zones and live their life of purpose. Yeah. Well, when I say, so be very careful whenever you set your purpose, because you will be extremely challenged with it. Right.
And that's really the purpose of this group, is to help the agents. You want to use hacks as the term. It's to be able to leverage your time to be able to learn things, to be able to shorten cycles and things like that, where you can grow. And by giving yourself more time, by being able to do all of these other things, you are growing not only your business, but you're growing as a person as well. And you're having a direct effect on other people's lives. And, you really don't understand it a lot when you help someone purchase a house, that when you first met them, they were in some kind of situation, and these are the folks that, really stand out in my mind. You help them achieve it. They're so grateful and so thankful. And sometimes you lose sight of that. You have to remember that you really affected their life and you made them happy. And to me, there's really nothing better than that. So if I can help agents achieve that and get to that place, then I've hit my goal.
Yes.
And it helps with my purpose. And now I have to keep going with my new why.
Yes.
And keep building it.
So beautiful. It was so beautifully said, Keith. And, which brings us to the third truth, is defining what is stopping us. And it's all in here. It's the only thing stopping us. Like I was saying earlier, the things that we tell ourselves is cruel. It's horrible. That piece of awareness, once we realize that I'm afraid to pick up the phone. We all know that everyone's afraid to pick up the phone and call that lead and go, hey, right? But it's not about learning how to do it. It's learning, why is the fear there? What do you have to overcome, and what do you have to dig back into in your past to overcome that fear? Because that's the only thing that's going to create action. You can learn how to do things all day long, but if you don't have the desire or the drive, because something is blocking you mentally, that every time you go pick up that phone, you hear someone back here yelling at you. And fear is a real freaking thing. we're taught as children, and I had posted, I love asking my questions, so I learn so much from people. That,
yeah, I love to read them. Yeah, they're great.
as a child, we have so much ambition and we have no fear. And my biggest memory, I'm sitting here going like this, like I'm swinging. My biggest memory is when my father, he was a mechanic and he was a welder, and he built me a swing set that would never move, right? It was sturdy. So I could swing as high on that swing as I possibly could. And I remember launching off the jump, and I'm like, all right, we're going to have contests on who can jump the furthest. And my mom's up there, no, you're going to break your leg. Now, people taught me how to have fear.
Mm-hmm.
And we carry that into our adulthood and into our business lives, to where, oh my gosh, I got this great idea. I'm going to launch this product, or I'm going to create this campaign. And I'm going to get all these new customers. Oh, but wait, you're going to break your leg. So fear doesn't matter if you're jumping off of a swing and you're going to break your leg, or if you're going to try and pick up the phone and make a new connection. Fear is fear, period.
Yeah, you remind me of a story back when I was doing training, and this thing right here, is not an 800-pound gorilla. And this is what I used to say to the students. It's not, it's a phone. It's a gold mine, actually. And, I remember I had this one student that came in, and I'm not going to go through the entire story, but the highlights were, he came in and he crushed it. And I mean, crushed it in 10 weeks. He had something like 25 new listings in 10 weeks. It was amazing. So I brought him up onto the stage, and I kind of talked to him. I said, that's amazing. How did you do this? Well, the very first thing is that I noticed English was not his first language. I'm like, wow, okay. So that must have been a challenge as well, if English is not your first language. And then, so what did you do? And he said, well, I actually listened to what you said. I'm like, no one ever listens to what I say. How did you do this? Okay. And he said, I went up and I knocked on doors. Okay. And that's how I did this. And I'm like, okay, that's great. How long have you had your license? You must be really good at communicating with people that answer their doors. He said, I got my license 2 weeks before I started this training. I said, get out. There's no way. What did you do before? I sold vegetables and fruit on the side of the road. I said, really? You were doing that? You just got your license. You have 25 new listings in 10 weeks. That's amazing. And, I said, what really drove you to do this? I mean, didn't you have fear of knocking on the door? He said, that was the biggest thing. I didn't have fear. There was no fear because I had never done it before. I didn't know that people would get mad, or people would slam a door, or people would say no. But that's how I got the listings. And, the moral, I guess, is like just what you said a minute ago about being the kids. If you've ever seen a child ski, they go bombing down the hill with total disregard for everything. But you turn 25 or 30 and you start going down that hill, you're like, whoa, wait a minute, I'm going to slow down. Nope. Right. Snowplow, go slow, go ahead, go in front of me, whatever else, because you have the fear of being hurt. Kids don't. So that translates right into real estate and what we do as agents. You're absolutely correct.
And, I love your story, Keith, because that is what keeps us stuck. Because our whole life, this is my half a century year. I'm turning 50 on the 27th of this month. And
happy early birthday.
All of my life, we take action and we get hurt. Mm-hmm. We take action and we get hurt. And we start to create the story. Mm-hmm. So when we come up with something new, we want to take action, but that old story comes into play. Oh, last time I did this. And that's really what holds us back, is that fear of failing, that fear of getting hurt. We have to learn to respect that feeling, because even as a child, we're told, well, don't be sad. Don't be angry. We never learned how to feel and respect those feelings. So respecting fear, saying, hey, thank you. Thank you for protecting me. I appreciate that. But I'm in the driver's seat right now.
Yeah.
If I fail, it's going to be okay, because the more I fail, I'm failing forward. The more I fail, the closer I am to a win. Knowing that it's not going to kill us, knowing that it's not going to change our lives, it's only going to change what's in here.
Mm-hmm.
We really have to learn how to feel that fear and yet do it anyway. But there's a lot of work that has to be done to gain the awareness to know what we're even overcoming in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, with this book, you know, I have people open up like, Bev, it's 57 pages. I said, yes, but it's 57 pages of gold, because it's not all reading. It's a quick read.
Yeah.
But if you do the work that I've asked within the pages of, okay, here's the question. And then I ask you to answer the question. Free write. Just get pissed off. It's okay to be pissed off.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's go back and look at why you were pissed off. Why did that piss you off? Because when we can look at our life as a perspective, I like to call it, my boyfriend is from New Orleans and he's a chef. And they talk about the holy trinity of how they do their roux. And, you know, I look at my life from an observer standpoint. If we can step back and say, okay, there's 3 different ways that you can look at a situation. And if we step back and start looking at it from all the different situations, it really helps us to well-round ourselves, because we're cruel to ourselves. We're really mean to ourselves. Yeah. And this whole book is really helping you to see how mean you are to yourself. And would you say that to someone else? Now that you're reading, or now that you're thinking those thoughts, what would you say to somebody else if they came to you with the exact same problem? Because I can guarantee you, if somebody comes to you with the problem that's in your head, you would treat it completely differently than you do within yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that, so I'm going to give away the secret. That's the secret that a lot of coaches don't want you to know. Because once you have that awareness, it is freaking powerful. Mm-hmm. Because that is what helps you to overcome. That is what helps you to see things from a different perspective. And that is what sets your world on fire. Because now, oh my God, I cannot wait to get up and make a difference today, because now I get it. Now I have an awareness. Now I'm not afraid.
Right. Now
I can be my voice. And, you know, a lot of people, I think, in the real estate industry, we put an identity on our titles. And it's very difficult to overcome. But we can look at what we want to be. We look at our mentors, and we look at the people that we respect in the industry, and we want to be like them. Mm-hmm. But do we want to do the work that they did to get to where they are? And that comes down to what we're talking about in the beginning of that self-respect. Mm-hmm. I can guarantee you, your mentors and the people that you look up to in this industry, they've paved that path, and they have failed, and they have kicked, and they have screamed, and they have done things that they never wanted to do or thought they were even willing to do. And that's the only difference between where we were and where we can be.
Right. And you know, that goes back to, and this has been floating around for a long time as well. You know, it's a very simple statement. You know, it took me 15 years to become an overnight success.
Yeah.
I mean, really, people don't know what you've endured to get there and what you have to endure. And, you know, let's get back to the skiing thing. And I don't know why, you know, it's summertime here and everywhere, but, you know, here I am in Charleston, South Carolina. We have a storm coming down.
You're thinking,
it's 90 degrees. Skiing, you know, you never get better skiing by yourself down the slope. And I used to do this all the time. I went to school up in New Hampshire, so we had a mountain right down the road. Actually, in our tuition, we got a ski pass, so I skied all the time. We always skied. But there were a couple really great skiers. A couple of them were on the USA ski team. And those are the guys that I would follow down. I would follow those guys down and watch what they did and learn what they did. Some of the stuff they did, I would never want to do. But that's the only way to get better. It's the same thing even in tennis. You know, you're not going to get better in tennis unless you play against someone that's better than you, and you're playing and you're watching and you're understanding and you're learning from them. And it's the same thing in real estate. When you have that coach, when you have that mentor, and they've been through the grind, they've been there, and they came out the other side, or I don't think you've really come out the other side. You're still always doing it because there's always challenges, even for the coaches and trainers. Mm-hmm. But at least they can help you avoid those pitfalls, avoid the waste of time, the waste of money, the lack of focus, the lack of even purpose. When we get back to the purpose, because that, to me, in a coach, is essential. Yeah. To be able to keep that purpose and that focus going. Because we do get a lot of discouragement in the business. We get a lot of rejection. I mean, you have to have thick skin in this business anyway. I mean, it's just a reality. People are always going to say no. And that's, it's funny. One of the other things, one of the other exercises we used to do in training was, and I'll ask you to do it. Okay. You ready to do it?
I'm ready.
Okay. What does NO spell?
No.
Okay, say it louder.
No.
Say it really loud.
No, I don't like that word.
No, I mean, scream it.
No.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Did that hurt? It didn't hurt, right? So that's the worst thing someone can say to you if you pick up that phone and call them and they say no. It doesn't hurt.
It doesn't change my day.
Right. It's
but
like hey, it's and if you have that right mindset, okay, which is really what this discussion is about, mindsets. My favorite 4-letter word is next, NEXT, because there's always someone else to call. We have thousands of people to call. Actually, my favorite 4-letter word is sold, but I'll take next as the one when you're doing that, when you're doing your prospecting or you're making your phone calls or you're trying to catch up with your leads and to do all that.
Well, and it's maintaining that purpose. And Keith, through the years, I've learned, I remember the very first lead I got in my CRM. It was back in 2008. And I was living in Virginia from Pittsburgh. And we have a 412 area code out of Pittsburgh. And I saw her number come in as a 412. I'm like, oh my gosh, she's moving to Virginia. She's going to be my best bud. I'm so excited. I didn't know to be afraid. She didn't answer the phone. I'm like, okay, well, now what? I tried calling her back. She didn't answer the phone. Okay, now leave her a voicemail. Nothing. I'm like, well, this should be easy. Like, she wanted to see a house. I'm calling her because she gave me her phone number and I never had a conversation with her. We were supposed to be best friends. I don't understand. And then the next lead and then the next lead. And you're like, oh, this isn't fun. And then I learned how to be afraid because they're like, why are you calling me? I'm like, oh God, why am I calling you? Well, you put your phone number in there, right? I went through all these stages of death, basically calling leads to the point where I would pick up my phone, my palms would sweat, my feet would sweat. I'd read all the notes, talking myself out of why I shouldn't call this person. But my fear of not succeeding was greater than my fear of picking up the phone. And that's the point that we need to get to is what's more fearful, right? What's more fearful? And through the years of, they're like, you're so good on the phone. I'm like, no, I've learned active listening and to ask questions because the reality is, when you're making a phone call, you can't see on the other end of the phone, and everybody has that telemarketing mindset. I don't want to call them. I feel bad because of your own perception when you receive a phone call from a telemarketer. Oh. Well, when I train actively asking questions because we have to go in detective mode. And what that's taught me over the years of asking questions, not only to the leads to try and help with the conversion, but it's helped me with my own life to ask questions in my own life as to why does that make me angry? Why does that upset me? What is it in my past that is bothering me about? Oh, okay. Well, let me clean this off the surface so I can move forward a little bit. But we're only as good as the story that we're telling ourselves. Mm-hmm. And if we're constantly telling us the negative stories and the stories of why we can't and why it's not going to work, it's not.
Yeah. You brought something up, and this is kind of a little variation of where we are right now, but you just brought up the C word, conversions. Conversions. I mean, that's the lifeblood. That's the key to the beginning of that relationship. And I know that's something you spend a lot of time working on and doing and perfecting, how to make that conversion from a lead to a client.
And it starts with the conversation. My post this morning on my Facebook page was, are you treating your database, and I can't remember the exact words, but are you treating it with the value that it really truly brings to your business? Because that is your business. And the only way we can have conversion is from conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But we're so afraid of the conversations that we don't get the conversion, and we're all bitching about our ROI. Oh, I'm spending so much on lead generation, but I'm not. Well, you're not having enough conversations.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's stuck on, what's your conversion ratio? Well, 9 out of 10 dentists, right? We can manipulate numbers any way we want them to be to have a 10% conversion rate or a 2% conversion rate, depending upon who we're talking to. But let's talk about conversation rate. How many people have you spoke to? And not just how many people you spoke to. How many people do you know where they truly are in the process, and how are you treating them like a person? All it is where are you in the process, and when are you going to need my services, and how can I earn your business? That's it. The end of the day, that solves all the world's problems right there.
Mm-hmm.
If we can just stick to that one thing and forget about, I need to meet my goals and I have to have, money in my bank, and if we're doing the right things and we're fulfilling our purpose, that's all gonna come. What is it? Zig Ziglar says, if you help enough people obtain what they're looking for, it's automatically going to come back to you. If you're giving enough people what their wants and needs are. But for some reason, we have this microwave mentality that we have to have it now. If we're paying $1,000 a month to generate 50 to 75 leads a month, we should have 3 closings out of there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, reality is, how many conversations have you had? How much consistency have you had for them to answer the phone, for them to respond to a text, for them to respond to an email? And what is your intention? Are you just trying to get the appointment? Are you just trying to get them in the car? Are you just trying to get a sign in the yard? Or do you genuinely care about their needs?
That is it exactly. And chasing the dollar is going to drive you nuts, because you may get a few, but your life is going to be miserable, because that's all you're going to focus on. And it's not going to be, I'm trying to find the best way to put this. It's not going to be fulfilling. It's going to be empty.
You're always going to be chasing.
Yeah, and there is no better feeling than having that conversation to help people. And they may be 6 months out, a year out. Here in the Charleston area, we're definitely a destination. A good segment of our market is really a destination. Mm-hmm. And we have a lot of folks, I can't tell you how many are saying, yeah, thanks for getting a hold of me. It's great, to learn about Charleston and understand the market, but we're 2 or 3 years out. And then that's okay.
Exactly.
I'll put you in my 2 to 3 year out bucket. We'll talk, every quarter or every few weeks, whatever it is. And we'll go from there. People's situations change along the way.
Yes.
And COVID has definitely screwed that up. I mean, it's like, let's not talk about COVID anymore. But anyway, that has changed. So people, they're a year out, they're 2 years or 3 years, whatever it happens to be. That's okay. To me, when I actually do have that transaction with them, and I may have talked to them for 2 years, to me, the feeling is like this. Have you ever put on a pair of jeans, just came out of the dryer, you stick your hand in your pocket, you're like, what's this? And you pull out a $5 bill that just has been through the wash. You're like, wow, you feel it. It's warm. It's flexible. It's like, wow, man, I found $5 in my pocket. Well, that's the same feeling I get when, we finally close 2 or 3 years later. It's like, hey, wow, this is great. I got $5 out of it, but I had this relationship for 2 years with these folks. And, I have to tell you that I kid my family a lot too, because I have so many relationships with my clients, current clients, past clients. I tell my family every Christmas, every holiday, look, you have to really up your game here. Okay. I'm getting more gifts from my past clients than I'm getting from you. So come on, folks, let's go. But that's the reality of it with me, is that it may be a long time, and that's okay. It's the same thing where even if someone is coming in and they're looking for $100,000 house, and you're helping them, and they get it, and they stay in your sphere, and they come back because now they're getting married. They want to sell that house. They want to upgrade because they're getting married. And then a couple of years later, they decide to have children. So they want to sell that house again and go buy another house. Yeah. And that relationship is fantastic. And that's what's fulfilling for me on my side. So, with the mindset, if you can do that and get your mind into that gear, but don't, in my opinion, don't get stagnant there. Yeah, you have to grow with it. You have to always up your mindset.
Doing the work.
Yeah.
Well, what you were saying was reminding me of what you said earlier about it took me 15 years to become an overnight success.
Right.
It takes 3 years to get a deal on the table. So what? This is freaking August 3rd. Does it not feel like COVID just happened, that the world shut down? What was like March 13th or something, the world shuts down.
Yeah.
Does it not feel like it was yesterday?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you incubated a lead in March, are you still in real estate today? And now you have a right now lead. So whether you got that lead 2 or 3 years ago, think about the leads that you talked to 2 or 3 years ago. Today is today.
Yeah.
So we forget about building that pipeline and building that business through time because we want it right now.
Yeah.
Forget to treat people like people because we lose sight. And I always say real estate made me the person I never wanted to be. Like I was always a handshake and a smile. Now I'm like, put that in writing. Like I gotta get that in writing. I never liked that piece of it, but that's the reality, right?
Right.
It makes you the person you don't want to be, but it makes you better. It makes you more well-rounded. And we tend to learn things that we maybe didn't know. And sometimes when we know too much, we get bogged down in our minds, and our minds tell us that we can't. Our minds tell us that it's not worth it. But deep down, that inner self is screaming for what we know we want and deserve, but the mind is telling us no. And that's the difference between the inside out coaching, because you can go anywhere and get motivated. And you're like, yes, you get that jolt of energy and you're like, yes, I'm gonna go back and do it. And then you get back from the convention, you're like, where do I start?
Mm-hmm.
It's that analysis by paralysis, or paralysis by analysis.
Yeah.
It's so bogged in your mind that you never physically take action. And that's really what this ebook is about. Is it's different from a perspective of, you know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
You have all the tools. You've been presented all the tools. Why haven't you taken action? What's going on? And I really, truly feel everything in these 57 pages, it went together. It's been years of writing and years of failing and learning and coming up on the other side to finally go, oh my gosh, I sat down and just wrote it all out and it all made freaking sense. And I'm like, this is the piece that I was missing so many years ago. And if I had someone in my corner to be able to say this, this, and this, I'd have been so much further ahead. And it was the action. But what are those things that are going to get us into action? And in this book, in the 5 truths, there's an exercise to do in each of the 5 to help us to self-realize why we aren't where we're supposed to be. And one of my favorite training questions is, think about 10 years ago. Think about where you were 10 years ago. I was turning 40. Am I where I thought I was going to be right now when I was thinking about it when I was 40. So when I was thinking about my life when I was going to be turning 50, am I where I thought I would be? I'm not. The only reason is because tomorrow didn't happen and the next day didn't happen and I didn't take the proper action steps. And before you know it, 10 years goes away in a blink of an eye. And when that teacher appears at the absolute right time, that's when, and I'm sure, Keith, in your lifetime, you can look back and go, oh my God, I grew more in this last year than I did the last 10 years of my life. We all have growth spurts like that. And when that teacher appears right at that right time and you have that connection and it's residing in you and you feel a little uncomfortable and you're like, I don't know if I should, that's when you should.
Yeah.
That's when you should.
Yeah, you have to get out of that comfort zone. You have to. If you don't, you're not going to grow. I mean, there are a lot of people that get into comfort zones in a lot of different ways. You know, where they live. They don't ever want to move. Okay, I'll never want to leave this town. I could go back to my old town up in Connecticut, and some of the kids that I went to school with back then, I mean, they're still there. That's their comfort zone. They're never, ever going to move. They're never going to leave. But it applies in so many different aspects of your life. It's just not in real estate or moving. It is in just about every facet. You get comfortable doing something. And, you know, if you can get comfortable making those calls, making those conversions, having those conversations, having those relationships, that to me is not a fantastic feeling, but it's what drives me all the time, you know, because I get up every day and I'm like, bring it on. What's this day going to bring? You know, let's go. Let's see, because I want to learn something. I want to have a new relationship. I want to grow. You know, I want to keep it.
I wanted to be very specific with what I put out into the universe, because there was one point that I said, bring it on, world. I'm ready. I want to take 1 month and go somewhere that I have complete isolation. Well, about 3 months later, DUI, ended up in jail for 21 days. So very, very careful with what you say, because I should have said I'm on complete isolation from, I want to be on an island in the sun, right? With fuzzy warm drink or fuzzy cold drinks. But no, I failed. You make bad choices, you learn from it, and you move on. But we have to be very specific with what we say we want.
Yeah, absolutely true. I mean, that's, you know, I was talking to someone the other day about this too. It's, you know, it's visualizing it, you know, seeing it happen. And, you know, when we were talking, it's really simple. You know, it's incredibly simple, this kind of analogy. But my coaches, my basketball coaches, you know, they would teach me. They're like, you know, when you get to the foul line, you're going to take that foul shot. Just close your eyes for a minute. Just envision it happening. See it, visualize it, and then open your eyes, and it becomes mechanical. It goes right through. And, you know, that's part of it. That, you know, right to your point. Yeah, maybe you should have decided on that island. Somewhere sunny and warm.
And that's the thing, you know, sometimes we get what we ask for at the most inopportune times. And
but I'm sure it was a learning experience, though, for you as well.
It was not something I would have signed up for, but I will tell you this. What I learned in those 21 days is there is no discrimination. And there are truly amazing women that are in prison, and they have incredible life stories. And the time that I was there, I was able to have about 60 different conversations with each one of those women to ask them what their childhood was like, where they came from, what are their fears, why do they think the way that they think, what are they going to do with their lives when they get out? And 90% of every one of those conversations, these women were scared to death to get out because they were now in a controlled environment that they were clean, they weren't in trouble, and they were safe. But if they got out on the other side, they didn't know what to do.
Wow.
It broke my heart because here I am I'm like, okay, well, I just put a contract on a condo. I'm going to be getting out of jail and then going and moving into my condo. And I didn't belong there, but I so belong there, if that makes any sense. And it was, it's expensive to get a DUI. I'm not going to lie to you. It was definitely I could have paid for a great luxurious vacation. But what would I have learned, right? It's to be able to learn and grow and not be the victim and go, oh, I don't belong here. Yes, I did. I broke the law. I did something wrong. And to be exposed to that environment was very, very humbling and an amazing. I don't want to go back, but I am glad I had that experience. 100%.
Yeah, I didn't know that story.
I think it's the first time it's ever been out public.
Wow. Breaking news here on the Real Estate Hack Factor. You never thought you were going to hear this today, but no, I mean, and your honesty in doing that, I mean, just says so much. And I know for the amount of time that I've known you, that you had a big takeaway from that experience.
Oh yeah.
And to use that going forward, it's invaluable. It's priceless. There's only one way to get it, and you paid for it, but at the end, it really is priceless. And I thought you were going to say that, through those conversations you had, some of your friends that did make it out to the other side contacted you to go buy a house. Help them buy a house. It's
actually a different state. I didn't even live in that state.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny where you find business, and I'll just share this really quickly. I had some agents work for me, and one ended up on one of the dating sites and dating some guy once or twice, and it didn't work out. But he called her back like 3 months later and said, "Hey, I need you to help me buy a house. Would you help me buy a house?" I'm like, wow, that's a new way to really, find the lead is to go onto a dating site. And you did that. And there was another one that actually attended someone's funeral. And one of their friends were there. And the same thing happened at the end was, "Hey, by the way, I know you're in real estate. Can you help me?" I'm like, okay, this is getting ridiculous. Okay, we're getting business from funerals and from dating sites. You guys got to stop this. You got to stop this.
Oh my gosh, that is awesome.
So, anyway, so your ebook, we've been chatting for a bit. Why don't you share with everyone a little bit more about how they could reach you at Inside Out, your Facebook page, or I guess it's a page now.
Beverly Ruffner, it's the Inside Out. I have a personal Beverly Ruffner page, and then I have my business branded Facebook page, Beverly Ruffner, and it's me and my yoga, because that's what I've really done this last year of my life. Is I had to step back and really look at my life from a perspective of what do I bring to this world, and what is my purpose, and being able to bring a full training together that is really from the inside out with tools and systems. And I'm a big believer in, you have to have something to hire to train to, and to fire to, and having that full circle. But what really keeps us from moving forward with that is that mindset. And this ebook was really that splash into, hey, do you want to step back and look at why maybe previous coaches haven't worked, and take accountability? And is the student ready right now? Because this coach is ready for the students that are ready.
Well, I would suggest to anyone that is watching this, whether it's live, whether it's recorded, you're watching a recorded version, and you're looking for a breakout, you're looking to get that mindset readjusted, reach out to Beverly. For the amount of time I've known you, you're a light in my day. Every time I get to talk to you, you really are. It's like, it's fun. Your energy, your knowledge, your talent, it's pretty amazing. So if anyone is looking for that to up their game, get a hold of Beverly. She could really help you out. And if nothing else, I know you can redirect them onto a better path.
Yeah. And I do one-on-one. So BeverlyRuffner.com is my website, and everything's on there.
Yeah, well, I'm going to put some links at the bottom of the video when we finish up, and I'll put them on there. So Facebook, they can go there, check out your Facebook page.
And you have the link. I'll make sure that you have the link to download the ebook as well, because it's absolutely free.
Yeah, so anyone that wants the book, get a hold of me, get a hold of Beverly. You download it. I've done it. I've gotten through a good part of it. I'm going to do those exercises. I need to keep learning as well. I need to keep going too. Beverly, it was great to see you again. Again, you are a light in my day every time I see you. Thank you so much for sharing everything with us. We appreciate it. And don't be a stranger. We'd love to have you come back. Tell us more about the coaching. Tell us more about your life and what's going on. And
or jail.
Yeah, well, jail stories are always good.
I quit drinking. I am like over 200 days sober, so no more jail.
Awesome. 200 days. That's amazing. Congratulations. Good for you. That's awesome. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for tuning in and watching this. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me as well. You can reach me right at the Hack Factory. I appreciate it. Beverly, thanks so much. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye now.